I want to provide some of my responses to the most frequent objections I received on my atheism series on deconstructing atheism. Some of them were: atheism is a lack of belief, atheism is a non-belief, atheism is the default position, atheism is not a worldview, and I'm misrepresenting atheism and strawmanning it. So first off, I think I want to just touch in and just say that the definition that I gave in the first video came from the Internet's Encyclopedia of Philosophy, and it came from Oxford Dictionary, it came from Google. I defined it as atheism is the belief that God does not exist, or I should say, which most people are in this one, it is the disbelief in God's existence. And I think people just didn't want to hear or didn't hear me say the latter, because the first one of atheism is a belief that God does not exist. That's actually strong atheism. You can look that up. And then there's the weak atheistic definition, which most people fall into, which is atheism is a disbelief in God's existence. And people have compared it to atheism is not a belief in the same way that being a non-stamp collector is not a hobby. But the issue with this analogy here, it's not really that good of an analogy, because a non-stamp collector doesn't write books, doesn't have communities, doesn't debate stamp collectors, and doesn't have atheistic churches. They don't write books. So the thing is, atheists, they want to claim that they're neutral, that their position is suspending belief, that they're somehow neutral, they're not making any affirmative statement on reality. However, the way that they go about it and how they act, they almost behave as if God does not exist. They like to claim that they're neutral, but they're still engaging in a sort of groupthink, in a sort of worldview. And what I mean by a worldview is, I don't mean that atheism itself is a worldview. It's one position on the issue. However, you identify as an atheist, but a non-stamp collector does not identify as a non-stamp collector. Like, why would you identify as that? It doesn't really make any sense. Why you would identify as just a disbelief in something. People make identities and they make worldviews out of it. And what I mean by a worldview is that, the atheist experience, which is Matt Dillahunty was prominent on that show. A lot of them shared similar beliefs in scientism, which is the view that science is the only valid pathway to truth. They shared naturalism, physicalism. They all kind of shared these similar beliefs in evidentialism, like the whole idea that, that what we believe should be based on sufficient evidence. Otherwise, belief should not be justified in something. So all those, they do form a worldview. Atheism does have, or I should say an atheistic person does have assumptions that they have unquestioningly. And another thing that I want to say is that, the fact that atheists argue with me already presupposes that they're defending some position, that they're defending some belief that they have. Like, they want to claim that atheism is just a lack of belief, in the same way that me disbelieving in Santa Claus is a lack of belief. But atheists don't go around saying that, oh, I'm just disbelieving in Santa Claus, but I'm still open to the idea of Santa Claus existing. No, like, Santa Claus is falsifiable. Like, if somebody says that Santa Claus is leaving presents right under your tree, you could go out there and you could test that and you could prove that to be false. You could see that it's your parents doing that, or that you're going to Walmart and buying it. Like, it's not the same thing as what they're claiming to be, because they want to claim that they're open-minded to God, but if you were to show them different evidence of God, they would move the goalpost. It's almost like this. It's like, so here's actually a good steel man of like atheism, is think of it like this. Theists believe in aliens. So like an alienism. So like an alienist, they believe in aliens. And then a non-alienist just disbelieves in aliens. They don't, they don't believe that aliens exist because there's no sufficient evidence for them to exist, right? So that is those two positions. And the thing is and then there's another one that's the spiritualist, who they actually have seen aliens and they've come back, but they can't prove it because the alien isn't there. But the thing is if a spiritualist does show the atheist a method to see the aliens, some of them might be too closed-minded to even partake in the method to actually go out there and see the aliens. And even if a spiritualist were able to somehow bring an alien back to Earth and show the atheist, they would move the goalpost and just say, oh, that's a hallucination, or oh, that doesn't really count as sufficient evidence. That spaceship that I see right here, that could be just some human being that made that, which could be true, that could be plausible. But even if you show them an alien, they could still find reasons to doubt that. In the same way, if God appeared to them right now, they could doubt if that exists, or if that's a hallucination, or if that's just some alien, right? So the alien analogy is not really as good. A better analogy that I would use is the lucid dreaming analogy, which kind of goes like this, that a theist believes that lucid dreaming exists, but they've never had a lucid dream. And then an atheist disbelieves in it because they've never had one either, and they see no reason why it exists because like those theists have never had one either, so how can they claim that it exists if they've never had one, right? You have your right to have that disbelief, you could say. And then the spiritualist or the mystic, they've had a lucid dream, but they can't prove it to you. The only thing because you can't share experiences like that. The only way they can prove the lucid dream exists is if they give you a method that they used for you to have one. Now, some people will try the method, whether that's like doing like a reality testing, or if it's like having like some like alarm clocks like wake you up. Some atheists might try that for maybe 30 days, 100 days, and they might fail at it and go, well, I guess that this is a bunch of bullocks. It means that probably this is a bunch of bullocks. But the thing is that you might be just need to do a different method. Doesn't mean that lucid dreaming doesn't exist or that it's bullocks. It just means that the method that you used didn't produce the results that you were intending it to. It didn't give you the lucid dreaming experience.